members who are waiting to speak. You are delaying other people's opportunities. Honourable Chief Whip of the DA, what is your point?
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, I want to refer you to Rule 92(9). Members may not disrupt proceedings by raising points of order that do not comply with this rule. Madam Deputy Speaker.
Honourable members.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I quoted the rule to you, and I want to refer you to Rule 69 further, which indicates that if members continuously defy a ruling of the presiding officer, that they are grossly disorderly. And I would like you to please take action against those members henceforth. Thank you.
Honourable Chief Whip of the DA. I am chairing the proceedings here. Honourable Deputy Minister, I am not taking any more points. You are disrupting. Honourable Mkalipi, I am not going to take any further points. We will proceed with this debate. Honourable members, I did listen, and I have not now said that you are in breach of those rules. I have been pleading and making a request for you to be decent in a debate and to show respect, but apparently that does not work. So, Honourable Smith, please proceed with your speech.
Thank you, Chair. I wonder what the Tripartite Alliance thinks about Iran's long-standing friendship with South Africa when they remember how the Islamic Republic turned on their socialist allies in a brutal crackdown of political freedom. Iran is not and never has been democratic South Africa's friend. It is a global source of terror that exports hatred, violence, and religious extremism in the world. And the ANC has all but made South Africa Iran's useful idiot. Honourable Speaker, as the world burns, South African diplomacy is now forced to tap dance around the ANC's diplomatic double standards. South Africa demarches the US ambassador for undiplomatic comments, but refuses to demarche the Russian ambassador for meddling in our democracy. We report the USA to the UN Security Council for invading Venezuela, but act as pious mediators when Russia invades Ukraine. We go to court against Israel in Gaza, but fail to report Iran to the Human Rights Commission for funding Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. Honourable Speaker, we know that diplomacy today can be fickle, but we cannot respond with political immaturity. Every single foreign policy decision undertaken by the ANC in this government is dragging us away from our natural allies and kicking and screaming into the arms of terrorists and despots. Honourable Speaker, the only conclusion one can come to when observing South Africa's schizophrenic foreign policy is that the ANC has sold its principles to the highest bidder. Our foreign policy under the ANC is neither principled nor non-aligned. It is a textbook case of diplomatic...
Honourable Mhloli, what is your point of order?
Can you sit down, Chairperson?
Please have a seat. Honourable Smith. Honourable Smith, please take your seat. Yes, Honourable Member, what is your point of order?
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I just wanted to ask if the Speaker can take a question.
Honourable Mhloli, you are now honestly interrupting the Speaker.
No, it's the rules. I want to ask a question and I'm asking him.
Honourable Member, would you like to answer a question? No, he won't. So please proceed. You have 45 seconds left.
Thank you, Speaker. Our foreign policy under the ANC is neither...
Honourable Longzi, please take your seat. Honourable Smith, you are now starting to fall foul of Rule 92 and 69. So what is your point of order?
But Speaker, I'm speaking for the first time. I don't understand why you're saying I'm falling foul.
The House is. So please proceed.
Yeah, so not me.
What is your point of order?
South Africans are being insulted here. Firstly, they were called stupid. That's not parliamentary language. Now we're being called schizophrenic. As a speaker, you ought to call the speaker to order. You can't call us stupid and schizophrenic. That's not parliamentary language.
Honourable Lonzi, in terms of the rules, and please, if you would like, listen. In terms of the rules, it is unparliamentary if you say that to an individual. But the courts have ruled that making comments in general is not unparliamentary. Honourable Michalakis, I'm not going to take your point now. I want the DA Speaker to now proceed and continue, because we can sit here for the rest of the evening. Honourable Michalakis, you are up first.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. It's a new point. Deputy Speaker, the DA Speaker at the podium has been prejudiced to a great extent due to frivolous points of order and lost a great deal of his time. I would request you to please use your discretion to allow him more time to speak. Thank you.
Honourable Speaker.
Honourable members.
Yeah.
Honourable members, I am not going to have this to and fro between the members. If you now want to raise a point of order, please quote the number of that rule. Honourable Mhlawuli.
Honourable Speaker.
I rise on Rule 92, a point of order on you. When Honourable Lonzi raises a question that we are being insulted, you are saying not an individual incited. Yesterday, a chairperson was seated there and the minister was saying those people, and then was ruled out of order and he had to withdraw. Now, this honourable member is speaking about us in the house. Why are you not consistent with that ruling that when you speak about people inside the house, they are out of order? Please be consistent.
Honourable Mhlawuli, I will look at Hansard and come back to the House with a ruling on that. Honourable Paulson, that was on record what you said.
Honourable Deputy Speaker.
I am waiting to hear because I cannot hear anyone. Honourable Lonzi, what is your point of order?
Honourable.
Chair, please be honest. Don't say you're going to consult Hansard. You heard him say stupid. You heard him say schizophrenic. You don't need to consult. Just make the ruling. He has to withdraw. He's insulting this House.
Honourable Lonzi, when I do make a ruling, I have to be absolutely sure of the whole sentence that was said. Yes. So I will come back. Okay, there are so many hands. Let's go over to the ANC.
Deputy Speaker, thank you very much. It's again an order to you. You are visible bias on the proceedings of this debate. And it's unfortunate that you are causing a threat to the smooth going of this debate because of how you handle the proceedings. When it suits you, without properly applying the rules, you suspend some of the rules to suppress the debate in the House. And we seriously do not know where you'd get the power to suspend those rules when members want to raise point of orders and other issues. So in our view, Deputy Speaker, you are contributing negatively to the smooth running of the House because you selectively suspend rules to suppress the debate on the House. We have allowed and agreed with you that we subscribe unto the freedom of speech espoused by the Constitution. But it does not mean that we must keep quiet when the speaker on the podium is misleading the country and trying to misrepresent us that Iran is not our friends and this and that, Peter Peterson, deliberately misleading the House and the people of South Africa. So we are appealing with you, Deputy Speaker, to be fair and consistent in the application of the rules of the House. You are grossly out of order. Thank you.
Honourable Member, I will remind you, if you had listened, we had a previous speaker who had actually referred to a party buying weapons, which was not out of order, and no one reacted. So that was my consistency. There was a previous matter that I could have ruled out of order for another party, but I did not. You can check the Hansard. So we will now proceed, Honourable Mente. That will now be the last one.
Deputy Speaker, you don't have power to make such a determination. Secondly, you do have a remedy. Ask your member, what did he say? Don't consult Hansard. Ask him, what did he say about stupid and schizophrenic? Ask him to read those sentences again, and then you can make your ruling.
According to what was recorded, South Africa's foreign policy is schizophrenic. That is what was said. Please consult the Hansard if you do not agree with that. We have checked that. Honourable Smith, please proceed.
This is a textbook case of diplomatic hypocrisy.
Can you
Expensive
rise on a
price
point of
South
order,
Africa
Speaker?
pays for the ANC's
Can you rise on a point of order, Speaker?
is the job.
Honourable Member, what is your point of order?
No, thank you very
Please
much.
take your seat, Honourable Smith.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I'm rising on point. I'm in Rule 92, calling order on your good self, Honourable Speaker. I want to remind you that you don't have powers to tell us that you are not going to take any hand for as long as you are raising hands. It's beyond your powers, that one, Speaker. But second to that, Honourable Speaker, would like to plead with your good selves that stop proving what we have always suspected, that you don't understand the rules of this House. Stop being biased and be consistent in terms of application of the law. Why is it that every time when members of the African National Congress raises their hands, you want to tell us that you are not going to take any hand? But when this Honourable Mogalamenki is there, you are ambiguously allowing him to disrupt the process of the...
Honourable Member, as the Deputy Speaker, I have a wide range of discretion, and it is not only for the ANC, I also directed it to all other parties. So we will now proceed. Honourable Smith, you have 34 seconds left.
This is a textbook case of diplomatic hypocrisy and the expensive price South Africa pays for the ANC's cheap diplomacy is the jobs we shed, the growth we sacrifice, and the reputation we tarnish. Freedom, democracy, human rights, the ANC has sacrificed it all for patronage, influence, and donations. Senzeni na.
Irrelevant.
The next speaker is the Honourable Mhlongo.
Deputy Speaker, on behalf of the Economic Freedom Fighters, I would like to once again extend our deepest condolences to the brave people of Iran, to the Islamic world in general, and to the family of the martyred Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, who was killed by the unjustified attack on a sovereign nation by the Zionist state of Israel and the bloodthirsty United States of America. The late cleric was not just a leader of Iran, he was a voice of reason and authority across the Islamic world. His sober-mindedness also ensured that even while Iran could develop its own nuclear weapons, it was prevented from doing so because of his commitment to peace. We also extend our condolences to all those who have fallen to the US-Israel axis of evil across the world. Assassination is the language of cowards, a language spoken by trembling empires, trembling because the world is waking up to their cruelty, lies, and barbarism. Are we as South Africans going to remain asleep, or are we ready to wake up? We say here today, clearly as the EFF, the names of the martyrs recognize Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, Ali Larijani, and Ismail Khatib. In Parliament, we honor your struggle and condemn the cowards who killed you, you have returned to God, and may He have mercy on you for your sacrifice. Those acts of terrorism are not isolated. They are cold and calculated strategy to decapitate resistance, silence voices that refuse to bow before Washington and Tel Aviv. We have seen them trying to demonize and isolate South Africa because of our stance to the Israel genocide in Palestine, and we have seen them trying to create enemies of everyone opposed to the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. The US attack in Iran is at the insistence of the genocidal regime of Israel, have shattered whatever prospect of peace in that region. The attacks have also placed the world at a greater risk of economic collapse as a result of the strain to energy trade this has caused. Deputy Speaker, the greatest tragedy in all of this is the sterilization of whatever power global multilateral institutions might have had. The UN Security Council is powerless in the face of this unprovoked US attack. The Palestinian genocide and now this war against Iran has exposed them and left them naked to the truth that they no longer matter and only serve the interests of power, greed, and money. The world sees them for what they are, and much like the League of Nations collapsed and became ineffective due to the Nazi Germany, the UN too will face the same fate because of Israel and the US. Donald Trump kidnapped and imprisoned Nicolas Maduro, a president of a sovereign nation, and there is no condemnation from anyone in the world. Donald Trump has enabled and financed the ethnic cleansing of Palestinian people by the international criminal Benjamin Netanyahu and the genocidal regime of Israel, and yet again the world is quiet. The impunity with which the US and genocidal Israel perpetrate atrocities around the world has destabilized effect across the world. After Venezuela and Iran, who will it be? For how long must the world stand still in the face of imperialism? The world is burning right under the weight of American and Israeli imperialism, apartheid, and naked genocide. As South Africa, we have a historical moral duty to speak out. Silence is complicit, and complicity is betrayal. Betrayal of our own history and our own struggle for freedom. Iran is under attack to pave way for the ultimate destruction of the Palestinian people and for the full control of oil resources of the Gulf region by the United States. What are we to say about the Gulf states who betray their own neighbors? What of those regimes that align themselves with the USA and genocidal state of Israel, opening their air spaces, their bases, their coffers to imperialist wars while Iranians and Palestinians are dying? Shame on them. Shame on those who sell their humanity, dignity, and honor like Judas for a handful of silver. Shame on those who have abandoned Palestine, who have betrayed Iran, betrayed humanity and their own faith. They have chosen the side of oppression, and history will remember them as collaborators in genocide. We also know that we have here in our midst genocidal sympathizers in the form of the Democratic Alliance, PAACTP, and the very same Musimai Mane who sponsored this motion, a man who calls himself a Christian, yet has no iota of love for Christ in his heart. They visit the genocidal entity of Israel, shake hands with a man who legitimized apartheid. My man chose to stand with Netherlands and the mother. Honorable Mshongo, can you please take your seat? What's the point of order, Honorable Member?
I'd like to rise on a point of order on Rule 85. The Honourable Member has just cast aspersions against Honourable Maimani, and I'd ask that you rule that it be withdrawn. It is not for her to say he is not a Christian. How dare she say that?
Honorable members, please. I want to listen to the point of order so that you are able to rule. So if you hold this much, we can't hear. You were saying, Honorable Swart?
House Chair, the Speaker at the podium said that the Honourable Maimani is not even a Christian, and she cast aspersions on him, and I'd like you to rule that out of order. He is a respected Christian, and that is an aspersion on his character. It is not a point of debate, and she said other things. If you don't have the Hansard,
The point of disorder. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Swart. Honorable Mshongo, did you say what Honorable Swart is raising a point of order on?
Honorable House Chairperson, can you please repeat what he said? He was waffling. I could not make out what he was saying. But what I know is that I've called Honorable Maimane a Christian, and that's what I've done, unless it's not parliamentary to do so.
Thank you very much. Honorable Swart, we will consult Hansard and check what was said and then revert back with a ruling. Continue, Honorable Member. My man chose to stand with Medaras rather than the Medad. The unacceptable visit to the genocidal Israel by the above-mentioned parties is not a gesture of peace. It is betrayal of South Africa's moral legacy. The EFF calls for a complete termination of all diplomatic ties and genocidal state of Israel, as it was a decision of the Sixth Parliament emanating from the EFF-sponsored motion for South Africa to cut all diplomatic and economic ties with the Zionist regime of Israel. To this day, President Ramaphosa fails to implement this motion and has no political appetite to do so. Yes. Can you please take your seat? Chief Whip of the DA.
Thank you, House Chairperson. House Chairperson, I had my hand up at the same time as the Honourable Swart. So, Honourable House Chair, I want to refer to the same rule as him, and I want to plead to you, when you do go and consult the Hansard, the Honourable Member at the podium, when she accused Honourable Maimane of committing genocide, she also said, in our midst, and then referred to two political parties, the ACDP and the Democratic Alliance. I want to submit to you, House Chair, I want to submit to you that goes further than just criticism against a political party, but it refers to the actual members in this House representing those political parties. And I would like you to please consider this when consulting that.
Honourable Deputy Speaker. Consult, as I had said, my ruling was that we will consult Hansard and see. Okay, what is your point of order?
Thank you so much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I have a serious problem in the House. Honourable Mikalakis of DA continuously brings points of order that compromises the standing of the speakers. And it is the speaker's right to determine what the answer outcome would be. Previously as well, he stood up 3 times on points of order, and I think he needs to be brought up on point of order.
Honourable Member?
Yes.
Honourable Member, I gave Honourable Mihalakis an opportunity to speak because on top of what Honourable Swart was saying, he was adding that there was other ways as well that were used. So I am saying, can we not continue on this issue up until we consult Hansard, please?
Yes, Honourable Speaker, that is exactly what I'm saying. He continuously defies the speakers.
Honourable Member, no. Honourable Mshongo, please continue. We are also of the view that there should be a review of our relations with the US in light of its enabling of genocides across the world. We'll rather stand alone on the side of the truth and be with multitudes enabling genocide. The EFF noted the explosive resignation of Joseph Kent, the director of the US National Counter-Terrorism Center. The damning resignation was illegal, unjustified, and built on deliberate misinformation. Want to tell the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation that the demarche that he enforced on the US ambassador to South Africa is a useless diplomatic act. What is required is for Posel to be declared a persona non grata and be expelled with immediate effect if we are to protect our sovereignty and assert our stance against imperialism bullying. Now, House Chairperson, we are not surprised by the acts that we are seeing here. People are canvassing for Rebecca Oppenheim to fund their campaign. That's why they are here standing up defending America at the expense of our sovereignty, and that should be never allowed in this House. Long live the Islamic Republic of Iran. Long live the Islamic Republic of Iran. Long live free Palestine. Honourable Member, Palestine is free. Please mute the mic. From the river to the sea. Please mute the mic. Away with Israel, away. Away with the state of Israel, away. Away with the bloodthirsty away.
You are invited to the People's March on the 23rd.
Honourable Mshongo. Honourable Mshongo. That was uncalled for. I have continuously told you that your time has expired. You want us to abide by the rules. Please also abide by the rules. I will now recognize the Honorable Deputy Minister of Transport.
The People's March is on the 21st.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson. It was the worst of times, it was the age of foolishness, and it was the epoch of incredulity, and it was the season of darkness. It was the winter of despair. We had nothing before us. These words by Charles Dickens in his Tale of Two Cities could very well describe the world we are seeing today. Honorable Chair, this is the worst of times. The escalating confrontation involving the United States, Israel, and Iran threatens to plunge the Middle East into a devastating regional war with profound consequences for global peace, security, and economic stability. It is an age of foolishness where diplomacy too is easily abandoned in favor of military escalation and where the instruments of war are deployed with alarming haste. Decisions are taken in distant capitals that now reverberate across the world, threatening stability beyond the battlefield. Again, it's an epoch of incredulity. The world watches with disbelief as missile strikes, retaliatory attacks are escalating, and escalating threats push an already volatile region closer to catastrophe. It's an age of darkness where we see war casting its shadow over the Middle East. Civilians bear the heaviest burden, with homes destroyed and lives lost and communities shattered. The IFP unequivocally condemns the escalation of tensions and violence in the region. This cycle of attacks is unjustified, unreasonable, irresponsible, and irrational. It undermines the prospects of peace and places the world on a dangerous path. These acts of aggression and retaliation stand in clear violation of international law, eroding the very principles that govern relations between nations. We further note with grave concern the United Nations Security Council, the institution charged with the primary responsibility for international peace and security, has once again been rendered structurally incapable for decisive action. The veto architecture of the Security Council, as presently constituted, allows powerful states to shield themselves and their allies from accountability. This is not merely a procedural failure, it is a crisis of global governance that South Africa, as a multilateralist Honorable Minister of International Relations, must seek to reform with urgency. Our call is that we must silence the guns. First, there must be an immediate cessation of hostilities. Secondly, all parties must return to serious diplomatic engagement under the auspices of the United Nations. And thirdly, there must be renewed international commitment to regional stability and collective security of the Middle East. And lastly, there must be a consistent and principled defense of international law and the protection of civilian life. Whilst we call for peace abroad, we must now turn our focus here at home. Conflicts of this magnitude inevitably have consequences far beyond their immediate theaters. South Africa is not an island, and as an active participant of the global economy, events beyond our borders and continent inevitably have an impact on us today in today's interconnected world. We are not immune. We remain concerned by trade and oil disruptions due to the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Moreover, as economic analysts indicate, the country's vulnerability to fuel supply will be most exposed as never before. Therefore, South Africa must undertake parallel processes for preparedness and reflection. We must be ready for what lies ahead. Concretely, this means the IFP is calling on the Ministers of Finance, Trade, Industry and Competition and the Minister of Mineral and Petroleum Resources to commission urgent fiscal impact assessments examining South Africa's exposure to a sustained oil price shock, including its knock-on effects on the fuel levy, transport costs and food prices. We further call on ESCOM and the National Energy Regulator to assess the implications implications for our already strained energy system. And we call again on the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition to identify strategic routes and supply chains that may be disrupted and begin contingency planning accordingly. I wanted to say more, but to this new honorable member of the MK, you are the ones who issued a statement welcoming Donald Trump as the President of the United States. Secondly, it was you, ask Umsholozi, what happened to Gaddafi? We must ask you. Thirdly, whilst you stand here to seek to insult us, the people are rejecting you. We are petana sokushaya unabe lento ikhuluma nayikho iyaphetha honorable members we speak esingaziluthi
Time has expired. Honorable Hendricks.
You're confusing issues.
Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable Hendricks, can you please take a seat? Honorable members, the way you were so shouting, even if you would raise a point of order, I wouldn't have heard what maybe the Deputy Minister has said. The way you were so shouting, can we please, asiyekhiseni moya, there's nothing wrong, asiyekhiseni nje amaphaphu, and we continue with the business of the day. Honorable Mhlongo. Ngiyabonga, House Chairperson, we are pleading with you to be consistent in applying the rules. The Deputy Minister, because he's a member from the IFP, your party, you allow him to go beyond his allocated time. You don't reprimand him like you have done with me. You keep quiet as he sits down. He continued screaming and screaming way beyond his time. Please call him to order so that we may be able to respect the rulings that Honorable Mhlongo charge you that we have been. Honorable Mhlongo. First and foremost, you don't have the privilege of seeing time. We do here. Secondly, I called out the Deputy Minister when he was leaving because the time had expired. I did call out. So what you are saying is definitely out of order. Honorable Hendricks, please continue.
Jefferson, my hand is up.
Who's that? Honorable member, yes?
Yes, Chair. Chairperson, unfortunately, Deputy Minister sehleli phansi. Kodwa uthe lapha kwi-podium wathi imember yethi slim esingazi lutho. That is unparliamentary, and siyacela ukuthi awa-withdraw la uma sibe siyaxolisa on our member. Thank you.
Honorable member, is what I was saying. You see, it's exactly the issue that I was addressing. That when you howl, I can't hear as the presiding officer sitting here. So I will ask if the Deputy Minister did say that, but now I've afforded the time to Honorable Hendricks, and Honorable Hendricks will speak because you did not raise a point of order while he was at the podium. Honorable Hendricks.
Honorable Speaker, members of Parliament, let me just take this opportunity for us to congratulate the fastest growing party, that is the Patriotic Alliance, for their win in Ward 7, Payas Nodia, Rafranet. Thanks, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the Patriotic Alliance rise to address the hard economic realities that are landing on our doorsteps following the recent escalation of hostilities involving the United States, Israel and Iran. It presents South Africa with a critical foreign test. Let there be no misunderstanding or emotions. Our moral compass is straight. The Patriotic Alliance has and remains unequivocal in its belief in a two-state solution. We believe in the right of the people of Israel to live within secure, recognized borders, and we equally believe in the right of the people of Palestine to have dignity, self-determination, and their own sovereign state. We are against killings of civilians on all sides, whether in Gaza, Tel Aviv, or Tehran. We believe in
existence. However, while we debate foreign policies, a more immediate crisis is hurtling towards our shores, one of fuel, food and financial stability. Let me just put some facts on the table. South Africa's trade data reveals a stark imbalance between economic realities and diplomatic posture. South Africa trades approximately 430 to 450 million annually with Israel, while total trade with Iran is roughly 12 million. This means South Africa trades nearly 30 times more with Israel than with Iran. Yet South Africa has signed more bilateral cooperation agreement with Iran than with Israel. Just in EG, around 9 agreements with Iran, 4 agreements with Israel. This suggests foreign policy approach that prioritize ideological positioning over economic outcomes. Honorable Speaker, the conflict in the Middle East is no longer a distant geopolitical issue we observe from afar. It is a domestic economic crisis in the making. As we speak, Honorable Speaker, oil facilities in the UAE have been set ablaze by drone strikes, and global shipping lanes are paralyzed. The result, Brent crude oil has surged past $100 a barrel for the first time since 2022. And here is where South Africa's vulnerabilities is exposed. In the past 2 weeks alone, we have seen rand weakening significantly. The benchmark SA 10-year government bond yield has been seeing its worst sell-off since the pandemic, spiking to over 8.8%, according to modeling by EY Pattern. If this conflict persists for 6 months or more, the rand could tumble to nearly 6.63 cents to the dollar, and our economy could shed as much as 40 billion. That is not a statistic, that is jobs, that is livelihoods, that is the erosion of the little disposable income our people are left with. Honorable members, food inflation is not an abstract economic indicator. It is the difference between a family having 3 meals or 1 meal.
Your time.
Thanks.
It has expired.
Thank
you. Honorable Kobe.
Thank you very much, House Chair. House Chair, as the American-Israeli war with Iran enters its 4th week, a proverb comes to mind. When elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. Today we are witnessing the devastating consequences of this escalating conflict, and as always, it is the innocent civilians who pay the ultimate price for this violence. Action SA firmly believes in the rule of law. As South Africa is a signatory to the Charter of the United Nations, we call on all parties to immediately return to the negotiating table to prevent further loss of life, the displacement of civilians, and the destruction of critical infrastructure. But Honorable House Chair, while bombs are falling thousands of kilometers away, the impact and consequences are already being felt here at home in the pockets of South Africans. The disruption of global oil supply, particularly through the strategic Strait of Hormuz, has sent shockwaves through the energy markets. Oil prices rising 40%, and with them, the cost of living will inevitably follow. And what does this mean for our people? It means petrol and diesel prices will skyrocket. It means a domestic worker in Khayelitsha will pay more just to get to work. It means the cost of transporting goods will rise. It means farmers already under strain will pay more to produce food. And ultimately, it means that every South African in this place will pay more at the till. This will act as a handbrake on an already limping economy, leaving millions trapped in poverty, unemployment, under the watchful eye of the GNU. Honorable House Chair, when a global crisis strikes, a capable and caring government acts decisively to cushion its people from its shock. Instead, what we are witnessing is a familiar pattern and a paralysis under the GNU in the face of a crisis. As Action SA, we believe that there are immediate practical steps that must be taken. First, our government must implement the temporary levy relief to shield customers from extreme price shocks. This was done during the onset of the Russian-Ukrainian war, and it can be done again. Further to this, we cannot allow fuel price gouging by opportunistic actors who may seek to exploit this crisis, much like what we saw during the COVID pandemic, where bad faith actors sought to profit from the crisis. Second to this, we must urgently accelerate energy diversification. Our over-reliance on imported fuel leaves South Africans dangerously exposed to geopolitical instability. Investment in alternative energy and local refining capacity must move beyond rhetoric. South Africans need a government that acts. And if this government cannot act, then South Africans must answer the simple question: how much more must South Africans pay for this inaction? I thank you very much, Madam House Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Misho. Honorable members, can we please afford an opportunity to Honorable Misho?
House Chairperson. King Solomon in Proverbs 18:21 said, and I quote, "Life and death are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit," close quote. For about 47 years, Ayatollah Khamenei and his supporters have chanted death to America and death to Israel, and also threatened to raise Israeli cities and wipe Israel off the map of the world. As a nuclear-capable country, this clearly makes Iran an existential threat to them. We know that on the 7th of October 2023, Hamas attacked Israel and massacred more than 1,200 people, most of whom are innocent children. In October 2024, Iran itself launched hundreds of ballistic missiles, and it's reported that it was the largest missile attack in human history against a small country that is just the size of Kruger National Park. House Chairperson.
Honorable Misho, can you please take your seat? Honorable Mhlongo, what are you rising on?
Thank you, House Chair. The Honorable Mushwe Umfundis, he is misleading the House. He's really misleading the House, and you are allowing to. Hamas was defending itself. It was self-defense. Now,
Honorable
he has never,
Member,
wait, House Chairperson.
Honorable
He has
Mhlongo,
never said anything
Honorable
about
Mhlongo. Honorable Mhlongo, you are out of order. That is a point of debate. It is. Honorable Misho.
The ACDB support.
Honorable Misho, can you please take your seat again? Honorable Mahlaula.
I'm waiting for the pastor to sit down. Thank you very much, House Chair. Is the Speaker on the podium willing to take a question?
Honorable Misho, are you willing to take a question? He's saying after he finishes speaking.
I said the ACDB support.
Honorable Misho, can you take a seat again? Honorable Douglas.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I just want to say that according to the rules, it says you cannot mislead the House Iran is not a nuclear power.
Honorable
We see that
Douglas,
in Iran is a
Honorable
nuclear power.
Douglas,
It's not a nuclear
Honorable
power.
Douglas,
Israel is a nuclear
you are out
power,
of order.
but not Iran.
Honorable Douglas, you are out of order. That is not a point of order, and I know that you know that. Yes. Honorable Mishra, please proceed.
The ACDP supports and believes in the right to freedom of speech. However, even our constitution limits those rights. We strongly condemn Israel's calls for death and destruction and clearly seek to incite violence and destruction upon other countries. We appeal to the international community, particularly the UN, to seek a ban on Iran's provocative, hateful rhetoric of death to America and death to Israel. We also urge the South African government to consider banning provocative speech that glorifies violence and destruction in our country, such as kill the poor and kill the farmer.
Can you please take a seat? Honorable Deputy Minister, what is the point of order?
Thank you, House Chair. I would like to check if Honorable Moshe can take a question.
Honorable Mishwe, can you take a question after he is done? Honorable Mshongo, honorable members as well. We can't always raise point of orders which are point of debates. I am giving you a fair opportunity for you to raise your point of orders. But now I think I will refer to the rules so that when a member stands, you must then say which rule are you rising on. Honorable Mshongo.
Ngiyabonga, House Chairperson. I rise on a point of order, Chair. Now,
You're rising on what?
on Rule 92.
Number.
Okay.
Now, can I proceed, House Chair? Can I proceed?
Yes, proceed.
Oh, thank you. House Chair, Honorable Mushowan is misleading the House. There's a constitutional court judgment on kill the poor, kill the farm, that it is not hate speech, it is acceptable in South Africa. So he can't mislead the House and say that it must depend on under which
Honorable
rule.
Mshongo.
Under which rule, House
Honorable
Chairperson?
Mshongo, that is a point of debate. Honorable Swart.
House Chair, I rise on Rule 92.
Honorable Swart, can I use my discretion and ask you to sit because we can't hear you, so that you get closer to the mic, yes.
I rise on Rule 92.9, and I would submit that the members are disrupting proceedings by raising points of order that do not comply with this rule, and I'd ask that you rule in that regard that these spurious points of order are not permitted, so that the speaker at the podium, the leader of the ACDP, can continue and complete his speech. Secondly, I would also ask you, House Chair, the Speaker, the President of the ACDP has already indicated that he'll take questions if he has time at the end. So any person that then asks whether you'll take a question is wasting the time of the House. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Swart. I think I have addressed those issues. That can we please continue with the debate and we allow Honorable Meshwe to continue with his debate, and we only raise issues or orders that relate to the rules and nothing that is off a debate. Thank you. Honorable Meshwe.
Thank you. Farms and farmers are a vital part of food security in our country. Therefore, they must all be preserved and respected. Ayatollah, obviously, with your workers. Ayatollah Khamenei, who proudly chanted death to America and death to Israel, is now no more. Let us learn from the lesson of the power of the tongue. Be careful what you say with your tongue. That which you say is going to come upon you.
Honorable Deputy Minister of Communication, you can't just open your mic without being recognized.
Let us learn from the lesson of the power of the tongue, and let us choose to speak life and not death. Let us choose to speak hope and not hopelessness. Let us choose to speak love and not hatred. Let us choose to speak peace and not revolution. Speaker, the ACDP believes that South Africa's foreign policy must be guided
Honorable
by...
Mishra, can you please take a seat? Honorable Deputy Minister, what is the point of order?
Thank you.
And I hope you will point out as well the rule that you are rising on.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Is the member preaching hope when he's celebrating death of Khomeini?
Honorable Deputy Minister, that is not a point of order, please. Honorable Mishra, please continue.
Thank you. The ACDP believe that South Africa's foreign policy must be guided by present-day realities, constitutional values, and national interest, not historical and sentiments. Members, we have an opportunity to help build and not destroy. Let us not put fire, or let's not put petrol on the fire that's already raging. Let us use our time to build. God bless you.
Thank you. Honorable Kwankwa.
Assalamu alaikum. We speak here at a moment history will remember. The war between Iran and the alliance of the United States of America and Israel is not a mere dispute. It is a deliberate attack on a nation's sovereignty and a test of whether the world will uphold justice or bow to brute force that shows no respect for a rule-based system and international law. Honorable members, unlike the US and Israel, which openly supported apartheid, Iran stood by us in our darkest hours. And no, we will not abandon them in their time of need, nor will we surrender our dignity and independence to US imperialism, even when they entice us with trade and aid. As the manifesto of Umkhonto we Sizwe, the former military wing of the ANC, declares, the time comes in the life of any nation when there remain only two choices: submit or fight. Today, Iran faces that choice not by desire, but because it has been cornered by unprovoked aggression. One thing is clear, though. Iran has demonstrated significant military capability and capacity to defend itself, which challenges the image of unquestioned US military superiority, clearly demonstrating that even the most powerful nations are not beyond contestation. Iran's resilience reminds us that strength is not absolute and that determined nations can resist, ensuring that the powerful do not impose their will on the less powerful. The architects of this aggression, Donald J. Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, must answer for decisions that cause death, destruction, and displacement on a massive scale. They must face accountability before the International Criminal Court. Anything less is a stain on humanity. Honorable members, needless to say, war destroys lives, families are torn apart, economies collapse, infrastructure crumbles. Generations are robbed of education, opportunity, and safety. History is unanimous. Wars do not solve problems. They deepen them. They create cycles of hatred and instability that far outlast political calculation. Yes, Iran must be condemned for its human rights abuses, but we must equally condemn the US and Israel militarism and refuse to be fooled by Western propaganda. So what is the solution? Dialogue, more dialogue. As true leadership is measured not by the bombs you drop, but by the conflicts you prevent. To the people of Iran, in the face of intimidation and violence, resilience is your greatest weapon. Stand firm, stand united. The strength of the people united in defense of their sovereignty is more powerful than any army and more enduring than any empire. Assalamu alaikum. Shukran.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I will now recognize Honorable Kana.
Honorable members, fellow South Africans, we live in dangerous times. times in which a US president, acting without the authority of the United Nations or even his own Congress, may decide on a whim to invade another country. Such unilateralism does not enhance global security, it undermines it. It fuels instability, provokes retaliation, and risk triggering both conventional and nuclear arms races. The world becomes less safe, not more. We must therefore be unequivocal. We condemn this needless war of aggression. It represents a grave violation of international law and long-standing global norms, including the unacceptable targeting of heads of state. Thousands of lives have already been lost. Entire populations across the Middle East now live in fear and uncertainty. This is not only unjust, it is wrong, and it must be called out as such. But this conflict is not distant from us. Its consequences are already reaching our shores. The price of diesel is projected to rise sharply by as much as 8 rand per litre, placing enormous strain on households and businesses. I hope those who celebrate this war can explain this to South Africans next week. Fertilizer costs will follow, driving up food prices and deepening hunger in a country already grappling with inequality and poverty. This war is not abstract. It is economic pain that will be felt by many South Africans. In this context, 4 national imperatives arise. First, South Africans must actively support international efforts to de-escalate this conflict. No ordinary citizen benefits from war. Only political extremists in the US and Israel benefits. Secondly, we must urgently secure alternative supply chains for critical energy resources and goods. We must also confront a hard truth. As long as reckless leadership prevails in major powers, global instability will persist. Third, the Minister of Finance must present to Parliament with a revised economic outlook in this budget cycle, enabling us to reassess spending priorities to shield our people from external shocks. Finally, we must strengthen our defense and security capabilities. The world has changed. We need a modern, well-equipped force capable of responding to emerging threats. South Africa cannot afford complacency. The ripple effects of global instability will reach us whether we are prepared or not. Let us choose preparedness. We must be prepared.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Webster.
Thank you, House Chair. Having listened to this debate thus far, it's been concerning that the House has chosen to take sides in global conflicts. We've even seen some mudslinging against one another, rather than focusing on the subject of this debate, which is actually about protecting South Africans. We've heard this House pulling in 2 directions, one ideological, one moralistic, but neither is rooted in the immediate reality that faces South Africans today. That's the first. The second is that this debate exposes a deeper challenge, and that's a lack of coherence at the center of the GNU itself. The truth is that South Africans can't afford the division that we've seen amongst the GNU at a time of crisis. They need clarity, they need consistency, and they need leadership that's focused on their reality. But to be fair, we heard from government, Minister Parkstow, an outline of the areas where South Africa must strengthen its position, and that's from energy to trade to logistics. And this is important, but the real test of leadership in crisis is not in long-term plans alone, it's in how we respond to the immediate pressure that South Africans face today. So I wish to reiterate what this debate is about. It's about securing the safety of South Africans who are in the Middle East and wish to return home. It's about upholding human rights equally and consistently across the globe. And it's about acting to mitigate against the harsh economic consequences that a conflict like this can impose on people in our country. Because these consequences are not abstract, they are not theoretical, they're felt at a petrol pump, they're felt at a taxi rank, they're felt at the till at a supermarket.
Honorable House Chair, the Middle East conflict will inflate oil prices. There's a predicted 4 rand a litre fuel increase next month, which will cost approximately 200 rand more to fill an average car tank. Taxi fares will increase, the price of bread will go up, small businesses will be forced to cut jobs or close doors altogether. And that is the impact that South Africans will feel. The general fuel levy alone now stands at 4.15 per litre. So South Africans are already being punished by global events, and they shouldn't then be punished by their own government. So we won't join with those who reduce this moment to an ideological fight, and we won't be satisfied with plans that don't translate into relief. That's why I want to reiterate the call by the sponsor of this debate, Dr. Musi Maimane, for this House to reject the 21 cents per litre fuel levy increase that's set to come on the 1st of April. Lastly, Honourable Speaker, we cannot be anybody's proxy, and we cannot be anybody's project. We cannot be answerable to global power blocks, but who we must answer to is the people of South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Zungula.
Thank you, House Chair. The Middle East has endured decades of instability due to foreign interests and geopolitical tensions. The recent military actions involving the United States and Israel in Iran, which have resulted in the tragic loss of civilian lives, including 168 school children, must be approached with the utmost seriousness. Any loss of innocent life is unacceptable, and those responsible must be held accountable. We must condemn actions which violate international law. The war in Iran is Israel and United States undermining Iran's sovereignty in pursuit of political outcomes aligned with their own interests. This sets a dangerous precedent in international relations. At the center of this matter is the need to protect a fundamental principle, which is the respect for international law, particularly sovereignty and territorial integrity of states. These principles, enshrined in the United Nations Charter, must apply equally across all nations, regardless of power and influence. There are legitimate concerns globally about the justification for the US and Israel attack on Iran, including whether there was an imminent threat that warranted such force. These concerns go to the heart of the rules-based international order. Notably, the resignation of a senior US counterterrorism official, Joe Kent, has brought further scrutiny to this issue, as he publicly stated that Iran posed no imminent threat and questioned the motivations behind the war. As this conflict continues, South Africa must consistently position itself as a nation committed to multilateralism, peaceful conflict resolution, and the rule of law. And as such, we cannot be selective in our application of these principles, regardless of trade relations. Where international law is undermined, we must speak with clarity and consistency. It is clear we are operating in an increasing volatile global environment where misinformation and security threats are becoming more pronounced. South Africa has already been subjected to misleading claims and propaganda about a so-called genocide of white people and violent land grabs, which distort reality and threatens our sovereignty. We must remain vigilant in safeguarding our own sovereignty and national security. South Africa cannot continue to speak sovereignty while failing to defend it in practice. We must remain principled in foreign policy and pragmatic in our domestic preparedness. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I will now recognize Honorable Modise Mpia.
Thank you, House Chair. The DA schizophrenics left this country and ran to the USA claiming persecution. They are now returning, not because their narrative has been proven correct, but because it has been proven to be incorrect and misleading the world. We are meeting at a moment of profound sorrow and growing uncertainty in our world. As the African National Congress, our thoughts and deepest condolences are with the countless civilians, families and communities who have lost their loved ones in the devastating conflicts that continue to unfold across the globe, including the rapidly escalating war in the Middle East involving Israel, the United States of America, and Iran. Behind every headline about missiles, airstrikes, and retaliation lies a far more painful reality. It is the reality of grieving mothers burying their children, of families forced to flee their homes in search of safety, of communities watching their futures crumble under the weight of war. These human tragedies remind us that the true cost of conflict is always paid by ordinary people whose lives are torn apart by violence. Across the world, we are witnessing a deeply troubling escalation of conflicts, from the Democratic Republic of Congo to Ukraine, from Sudan to Afghanistan, and now with the intensified armed conflicts in the Middle East. Geopolitical tensions are rising at the pace that should concern all humanity. Each new escalation brings the international community closer to the wider confrontations and deeper instability. It is therefore imperative that the international community recommits itself to the values of diplomacy, respect for sovereignty, and the peaceful resolutions of disputes. Principles that must remain essential for safeguarding both regional and global stability. Developments in the Middle East represent a particularly serious moment in international affairs. Escalations between powerful states in such a volatile region carry consequences that extend far beyond national borders. They threaten regional stability, disrupt global economic systems, as we are currently witnessing with the developments in the Strait of Hormuz. House Chair, another defining feature of modern conflict is that information itself has become a weapon of war. Across digital platforms and global networks, we are witnessing the deliberate production of circulation of disinformation designed to mislead societies. They manufacture consent and deepen divisions. These are not accidental distortions, but they are coordinated narratives that serve political and ideological agendas. South Africa itself has been a target of such campaigns, including the false and dangerous narratives of the so-called white genocide. This claim has been refuted and has no basis in facts. It is aimed at undermining our constitutional democracy. It undermines our transformational agenda and sows racial divisions in our society. South Africa has not collapsed into a fiction that they sell to the world. It has remained a constitutional democracy grounded in a non-racialism and the rule of law. The same forces of misinformation are often mobilized to discredit progressive policies of redress, including the broad-based Black economic empowerment. The BBBEE is not an instrument of exclusion, but a necessary tool for correcting the structural injustices of our past and advancing inclusive economic participation. Those who attack the BBBEE today must be honest with the people of South Africa. They are not opposing the injustices. They are opposing its correction. You cannot defend the benefits of a historically unequal system and at the same time claim to stand for fairness. To equate transformation with discrimination is to distort history and ignore the lived realities of millions who were systematically excluded from the economy. As leaders, We therefore carry a responsibility not to engage global developments with clarity, but to defend the truth, to protect democratic discourse, and to ensure that public debate in our country is grounded in facts, not in fear or fabrications. Honorable members, South Africa's approach to international relations is also shaped by our historical experiences. During the struggle against apartheid, the African National Congress built powerful networks of solidarity across the world. Many nations and movements supported South Africa in our quest for freedom and justice. It is precisely this history that guides our posture in this debate. Our voice as a nation must therefore be consistent. We cannot call for solidarity when it suits us and remain silent when others face devastation. We will not be lectured on justice by those who distort our domestic realities while remaining silent on global injustices. Solidarity is not selective. It is principled and it demands consistency both at home and abroad. The United Nations Charter emphasizes respect for sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the peaceful settlement of disputes. When these principles are undermined, the consequences extend far beyond a single region. As Africans, we understand deeply the value of constructive dialogue and the protection of vulnerability. House Chair, we as a nation, we will not be neutral in the face of injustice, and we will not be pressured or bullied to abandon our principles. We stand where we have always stood, on the side of peace, on the side of the people, and on the side of justice. And that position is not up for negotiation. Let us all put aside our particulars and unite in defense of our sovereignty. Our freedom cannot be complete whilst others in the world are not free. And true freedom requires respecting the rights of others. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I now recognize Ismail Musa.
People's March on the 25th. You are all invited.
Universal greetings of peace.
I have recognized you, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Universal greetings of peace and blessings in the name of Almighty, the most gracious and the most merciful. But can we say the US and the Israel is most merciful and gracious? You all will agree with me, they're not merciful and gracious. And I can prove this because the ICJ case has ruled. What have they ruled? They've ruled clearly that the US and Israel has been guilty of genocide. And we must admit this as parliamentarians. We take this very seriously and we respect the rule of law of the ICJ's rulings, although it cannot be effected immediately, and it's a failure in terms of seeing what the US and Israel is doing presently. So, honorable members, on this note, let me make it known that mercy and grace is totally absent from US and Israel. And I can prove this, I can demonstrate it by the fact that despite the ICJ's rulings and despite the principle of the right to life, the right to life, human life, is not preserved. And this is highly disappointing when we see the atrocities and the aggression by US and Israel. Yesterday, I attended a session here at the Good Hope Castle, which was organized by the commendable Cape Town Ulama Board. And the ambassador of Iran was present. And he made it clear, there is a forgotten fact that Iran is in West Asia and not in the Middle East. He further indicated the dialogue was never truly sincere in its efforts to ensure peace and stability and dialogue. Let us face reality that US and Israel are clear aggressors and in total violation of international law in terms of their conduct and their behavior. Now, who started this aggression? Was it not Israel and US that first bombed Iran? And this is what is important. This is factual and this is truthful. They have compromised world sovereignty of each country. And now let me demonstrate who the perpetrators are and the aggressors are, who violates the principles of a simple law, the right to life. So that principle that one of our honorable members mentioned that was hypocritical and mentioned about idiots, that is false and untruthful. That a typical textbook case is actually what is being conducted by US and Israel. The continuous killings of innocent lives of women and children at the expense of power, dominance, enrichment of resources.
Honorable Musa, your time has expired.
Thank you. Malibongwe to all the innocent lives of women and children.
I will now recognize Honorable Mulder.
Honourable Chairperson, I think this is a very important debate, and I think it's very important that we discuss this issue today. And I think it's perhaps necessary that we go back to the topic of the debate. And the topic of the debate today is supposed to be the escalating crisis in the Middle East, following the recent attack by the US on Iran, and the implications this has on South Africa. And I think we should understand and focus on the implications for South Africa in this process. During the debate, it's quite clear that there are very strong views on both sides of the House, and colleagues and parties feel very strongly and very emotional about this, and I understand that. And I want to start off by thanking the Honourable Minister, the Honourable Member from the ANC who just now spoke, and she spoke the truth when she said this is, from the ANC's position, a question of solidarity in terms of networks that were formed long time ago. And I think that's very honest, I think that's very true, and I think we must respect that. But the question then would be, is that the way that we should now implement our international relations? That's the question, I think, because I understand where it comes from, and I respect that, the network of solidarity that you refer to. The problem is that whether we like it or not, the world has been changing very dramatically so, and I would argue that we need to act in the best interest of South Africa. What is the best that we can achieve for our own country during this crisis? And then one realizes that Iran is important, but not because it's a big trading partner of South Africa. It's not amongst the first top 30 of our trading partners, it's below that. It's very important in terms of ideological support and in terms of ideological solidarity, and I understand that, but it's not about a trading partner. We have to understand, whether we like it or not, that the United States is a very strong continental power with huge energy resources, that the United States have a huge industrial depth, it can secure sea lanes, it protects its allies, it sanctions adversaries, it dominates airspace. And the irony is that even during this war, they have not lost one single one of their planes. And one must take note of that. They have not lost one single one of their planes. You know better. That's good to know. They have not lost one, despite of the fact that they were assisted with the best anti-aircraft missiles and technology from Soviet Union, from Russia, and from China. We must take note of that. The fact is that the United States is a reality. They are there, they are a very strong reality in South Africa, and we all understand that they are acting in terms of what is in their interests. And we must ask ourselves whether we can...
Honorable Mulder,
yes,
can you please take a seat?
Yes,
Honorable Deputy Minister, what's your point of order?
Why does it sound like USA is speaking?
No, but Honorable Deputy Minister, no, that is out of order. Can you please continue, Honorable Mulder?
if you have nothing to contribute, please keep quiet. Honorable Chair, Honorable Chair. No.
Honorable Mulder, please take a seat. Honorable Skosana.
Yeah, no. Oh, thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. I'm rising on Rule 84. I think the honorable member on the podium has used an unparliamentary language to say the honorable deputy minister must keep quiet. That's unparliamentary.
You're threatening me.
Honorable Skosana, that your point of order is not sustained. It would have been sustained if an honorable member has said to the deputy minister, shut up. But to say keep quiet is not, you can't say it is unparliamentary. Honorable Mahlaune.
Thanks very much, Chair. It's fine on your ruling, but we come from a history where when somebody behaves like a boss, poking you when he's speaking to you, traumatizes us, and he's doing that there on the podium. He's very aggressive towards our people, towards the deputy minister.
Honorable Mahlaune.
Very aggressive, as if it's in the apartheid era.
Honorable
We are
Mahlaune.
traumatized by that. Please protect us, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you. Honorable Mulder, can we please not use our hands when we speak? And maybe we only use words when we speak.
No, he's threatening me.
Thank you. Honorable Deputy Minister, I want us to continue with the debate.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Member, did you prepare your speech with Robert Self?
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Prepare your speech with Robert Self.
Honorable Kungubele, that is not a point of order, please. Honorable Mulder, please continue.
Honorable Chair, I'm going to leave my speech and I will direct myself to the colleagues from the ANC. I'm very amazed about the reaction. Why this sensitivity? Why this absolute sensitivity when we talk about what is the effect of the conflict on our country? Why so sensitive? Could it be, no, I'm asking a question. Could it be that it's all about ideological networks of support and has nothing to do with...
Honorable Mulder, can you please take a seat? Honorable Mahlaule.
Chair, it's very wrong to say we are sensitive because you are talking about America. We are sensitive because you are misleading the House. You even know how many flights Americans put down on Iran. You are misleading the House. Nobody knows.
Honorable Mahlaule, please, can we continue? That is a point of debate, not a point of order. Continue, Honorable Mulder.
No, you can't.
Honorable Chairperson, I honestly believe that we should use this opportunity to act in the best interest of our country and to deal with these issues in terms of what's in the best interest for us. And we cannot build our positions in terms of solidarity networks that are outdated and no longer relevant. I really believe that we should act in the best interest of the country, and my apology if I made you feel very uncomfortable. Thank you.
The time has expired.
Address the House, don't address ANC.
No, we will respond to you, my guy.
Honorable Mahlatsi. Honorable Mulder, your phone.
Can you run security quickly on that phone?
America. Honorable Mahlatsi, yeah, put it there. Thank you. You can continue.
Thank you, Chairperson. Khotso, Ma-Africa. Unity, Ma-Africa. We rise today to confront a dangerous and familiar pattern, one where powerful nations act without restraint, violate sovereignty, and leave the poorest of the world to bear the consequences. We strongly condemn the action of United States and Israel in the Middle East. The recent military aggression against Iran is not about peace and stability, it's about power. It undermined the international law and sent a message that some nations are above accountability. No country has a right to violate sovereignty of another. And this is not new. The world has seen similar conduct in Cuba that has brought to punish the nation that chooses its own path. Today, it is Iran facing military escalation, but the principle remains the same: domination over dialogue. Chairperson, while this conflict unfolds far from our borders, the impact is felt directly here at home in Azania. When war disrupts global oil supply, fuel price rise, when petrol, diesel increase, it is not the rich who suffer the most, it's the poorest. The workers who commute daily, the small business struggling to survive, the farmers to produce food, the family already battling with the basic needs. This is a harsh reality. Wars fought by powerful nations are paid for by poor in developing countries. Honorable members, my Africa, sovereignty must be respected. Aggression must be rejected. Global power must be held accountable. Azania, an African continent, must stand firm for peace, for justice, and for protection of the most vulnerable, from the river to the sea.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I will now recognize Honorable Mauma Peno.
Re ke go dumedise motlotlegi modulasetulo. Ke dumedisa le seboka sa batlotlegi mo ntlong mo letsatsi la gompieno. Honorable members, when the people of South Africa gathered in 1955 to adopt the Freedom Charter, they did so because they were not schizophrenic. They did so because they were not stupid. When they gathered there in Kliptown, they said in one voice that there shall be peace and friendship. I'm saying so because sometimes it is important, honorable members, to provide context. That context comes from the Freedom Charter. When the United Nations in 1966 adopted Resolution 2202, declaring apartheid a crime against humanity, it did so because the United Nations knew that this is a culmination of the struggle of the people of South Africa, who are not schizophrenic nor stupid. The United Nations agreed with the people of South Africa because South Africa was not alone in that struggle up against apartheid colonialism. South Africa's struggle was supported by our allies all over the world, and those allies that supported our revolution, they were supporting it because they are not schizophrenic and idiotic. Now, honorable members, to pretend to honor those who fell fighting against the apartheid system is not only stupid and schizophrenic, but it's an extended chronic and incurable dunderheadedness embedded in the psychology of white supremacy. I think I must repeat this. to pretend to honor those who fell fighting against the apartheid system. It's not only stupid, and schizophrenic, but it's an extended chronic and incurable underheadedness embedded in the psychology of white supremacy.
Honorable Maumapilu, please take a seat. Honorable Zongola, what is your point of order?
Thank you, Chair. I did not hear the honourable member on this last point. Can you please repeat it?
Listen properly, listen properly.
Even if he would do so, even if he would know that it will be eating on his time.
If you give me more time, Honorable Speaker will do that. Honorable members, we are here today because of one small but very big problem. The United States of America sent two people to go and negotiate with Iran in as far as matters of nuclear energy is concerned. These people, one of them, Kisbar, Saha President Donald Trump. His name is Jared Kushner. The second one, who is creating problem for us, is Stephen Witkoff, who is the envoy of the President of the United States of America. The similarity between the two guys, which has put us where we are here today, is because they are not atomic experts and science experts. Both of them are experts in property development. That is why they could not comprehend, they could not understand the discussions that were taking place with Iran in as far as the matters of enrichment of atomic energy is concerned, which was done through the knowledge of the United Nations. Fast forward, the US and Israel, despite the fact that all and sundry accepted that negotiations were going well with Iran, from nowhere then they attacked Iran, and that is why we are here where we are here today. Honorable members, it is important to distill truth from facts. Honorable Maiman, because you started the debate. It's important to distill truth from facts. And one of the truths which must be separated from facts is that the United States of America believes that might is right. And you come here, you run away from the truth because you chase the facts. And South Africa must kowtow under the dictates of the United States of America because of its mightiness of its economy. We are a sovereign state, and the challenges that we face as South Africans, be they economic or otherwise, we will use our collective wisdom of working together to overcome those particular challenges. The reason why the people of South Africa will be coming together on Saturday, on Human Rights Day, to march in Johannesburg, they are doing so because they want to appreciate, and they will continue to do so, appreciate and honor the struggle that culminated in the liberation of South Africa in 1994. Now, beneficiaries of apartheid colonialism like Honorable Smith, who comes here and is confused as to whether he's a beneficiary of a reasonable decision by the ANC to have a GNU or not. He's also confused by the fact that he doesn't know the lifespan of the GNU, and therefore he wants to abuse the platform to the extent that that GNU will still be in existence. Now, Honorable Smith, please know that South Africa is a sovereign state. No matter the mighty force of the United States working with Israel, we will not retreat on defending our sovereignty. Please know that our principle of believing in multilateralism is a principle that no power on earth will make us shift from it. You must know, Honorable Smith, that you are a beneficiary of the struggle of black people and Africans who sacrificed their life for you to stand up here and speak without you being arrested by the police. You know no sacrifice of the struggle.
Honorable
That is why-
Maumapelo, can you please take a seat? Honorable Michalakis. Honorable members, honorable members, honorable members.
Thank you, House Chairperson. House Chairperson, I stand on Rule 85, and I want to submit to you that the Speaker at the podium has taken it a bit too far when he indicated that Honourable Smith would have, under certain circumstances, have been arrested. With respect,
Honorable members, please, I can't hear
with respect,
the point of order.
House
Can we
Chairperson,
please stop shouting, please?
if the member at the podium has any proof of Honourable Smith having committed a crime, he must bring a substantive motion. There is no proof.
Honorable Michalakis,
Smith
I
having
didn't
committed a
catch
crime
that. You
to
said
be
the member on
arrested.
the podium said what?
The member at the podium took it a little bit too far when he indicated that under certain
Honorable members, no.
House Chairperson, may I please make my point?
Yes, please.
Thank you. House Chairperson, the member at the podium took it too far when he indicated that Honourable Smith, under certain circumstances, would have been arrested. Implying that Honourable Smith has committed some form of a crime. Now, if the member at the podium has any proof of Honourable Smith having committed a crime, he must bring a substantive motion. However, not doing so casts aspersions on his character and implies that he is a criminal. I would like you to please go to the Hansard and rule on this matter because it does violate Rule 85.
Thank you very much. No, I didn't hear the honorable member say that, so we will have to consult Hansard first
I can
and
repeat
come
it,
back
we
with
don't
the
need
ruling.
Hansard.
Honorable Maumapelo, please
I was just
take
saying
a
I can
seat.
repeat it.
Are you, Honorable Mahlaula, are you fine? I saw your hand
We
up.
don't need Hansard, so I can repeat it.
Honorable, no, there's a hand of Honorable Skosana. Honorable Skosana?
No, Chair, I wanted to clarify that it's a point of debate. Honorable Mahumapilo was explaining that if it was still under apartheid, Honorable Smith wouldn't have spoken the way he did. He wouldn't have been arrested. So it's a point of debate, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Skosana, but Honorable Maumapelo is willing to even repeat it.
In simple terms, Honorable Presiding Officer, what is bequeathed to people like Honorable Smith here today is a consequence of the struggle and the sacrifices of black people. So context is important if you can't comprehend what I was saying earlier on. Honorable members, South Africa will continue to participate in the United Nations. It will continue to influence those who are in the United Nations Security Council to make sure that conflicts of the world are resolved through peaceful means. To make sure that in the context of building a better Africa and a better world, we continue to engage with global forces of the South to make sure that future generations can inherit from humanity that exists here today a better Africa and a better world. Ke a leboga, modulasetulo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I will now recognize Honorable Hatting.
Join the People's March.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Debate about implications for South Africa. South Africa's foreign policy is built on the principle of non-alignment. The commitment to act independently, uphold constitutional values, and engage globally without being drawn into competing power blocks. That is our stated position repeatedly. But the question is whether our actions, especially in defense diplomacy, align with that position. We must ask whether non-alignment has become a label, a very convenient label, concealing a pattern of selective alignment. Because foreign policy is not judged by slogans, it is judged by conduct. And that conduct is becoming very difficult to explain. Let us start with Cuba. Under Operation Tusano and its successor Project Gala, the Department of Defense entrenched a costly Cuba-linked relationship, repeatedly flagged for procurement failures, weak controls and poor value for money. Irregular expenditure stands at 1.7 billion with no consequence management. Reports revealed open-ended contracts, weak records, poor justification and clear evidence that these services could have been sourced locally at far lower costs while creating jobs for South Africans. The issue is not whether South Africa may cooperate with Cuba. The issue is why these arrangements persist despite repeated findings of non-compliance year after year, with impunity and without any consequence. That is not non-alignment. That is preferential indulgence. Now consider Iran. In July 2025, the chief of the SANDF visited Iran and reports attributed political remarks to him suggesting solidarity and shared purpose with Iran. The presidency distanced itself, and Durko reaffirmed that foreign policy is determined by cabinet and exercised under civilian authority, not by the military. That alone was very damaging, because what the most senior SANDF officer appears to freelance politically in Tehran, the world does not see disciplined non-alignment. It sees drift, it sees confusion, and it sees weakened civilian control. Then came Exercise World for Peace 2026. And this is where the issue really moves beyond signaling and into constitutional authority. Head of the exercise, the President, as Commander-in-Chief of the SANDF, issued a clear instruction that Iran's participation should not proceed. That instruction was communicated, yet Iran participated. The Iranian corvette Iris Nakhti took part in the sea phase, and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard was the vessel Shahid Madawi was in Simonstown. A board inquiry was announced by the Minister of Defense with a 7-day reporting timeline. But as expected and predicted, nothing happened. Then the President took control of the investigation, removed it from the Minister of Defense and placed it under the presidency. And the reason is critical. The investigation is into whether the President's own instruction was ignored or not implemented. This is not diplomatic disagreement, it's a failure of command. When a presidential instruction on a foreign military matter must be investigated by the President itself, we are no longer dealing with foreign policy signaling. We are dealing with a breakdown in civilian control. And that is exactly the kind of signal that the international parties respond to. Not explanations, but actions. Now consider what is happening at the same time in South Africa's military relationship with the United States. The contrast is stark. In 2025, the United States moved to halt military assistance to South Africa, including the collapse of the long-standing international military education and training program.
the suspension of foreign military financing, and the curtailment of broader defense cooperation, as well as the US participation in the 2024 Aerospace and Defense Expo in Pretoria that was cancelled. Then exercise Shared Accord 2025 was cancelled. Now, Shared Accord is not a ceremonial exercise. It's a part of a long-standing United States-Africa training program focusing on humanitarian response, peace support, and joint operations. It is where the SANDF has built interoperability, disaster response capability, and international coordination. When it was cancelled, South Africa did not lose a photo opportunity. It lost real training, real capability, and real strategic relationships. So the trajectory is clear. Military aid halted, training reduced, funding constrained, exercise cancelled, cooperation declining. This is not neutral drift. It's a measurable, consistent downward trend. Now compare the two realities. On the one hand, escalating high visibility engagement involving Iran, including a situation where presidential authority itself is under investigation. On the other, a steady collapse of military cooperation with the United States. It's not balanced non-alignment, it's divergence, and it comes at a price. The United States remain one of South Africa's most important export markets and investment partners. When defense diplomacy becomes unbalanced, the consequences do not remain within the military sphere. They spill into trade, into investment, into tariffs, market confidence, and jobs. So we should stop treating non-alignment as though it answers everything. It does not. Real non-alignment is not a slogan, it's discipline. It requires balance, it requires control, and it requires credibility. When presidential instructions are not implemented, when defense signaling clusters in one direction, and when key partnerships decline, then non-alignment is no longer a strategy. It becomes a contradiction. And South Africa will not be judged by what it claims, it will be judged by what it does. And when a country's actions contradict its claims, it does not choose its alignment. Its alignment is chosen for it. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. To conclude the debate, I will now recognize the Honourable Minister of International Relations and Cooperation.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. Yesterday, we received the sad news of the passing of one of our finest diplomats and a lawyer, Nicholas Haysom, a patriot who dedicated his life to the birth of a united, non-racial, and a non-sexist South Africa. We mourn him not only as a great patriot, but also as an internationalist who served the cause of peace and justice with distinction across our continent and the world over. I had the distinct honor of working with him in South Sudan. His commitment to democracy and Africa's quest to silence the gun was never in doubt. He leaves an indelible mark on multilateral institutions at a time when they are under unprecedented strain. On behalf of the South African government, I hereby convey a message of condolences to his family and his loved ones. Honourable Smith stood here and accused the GNU, which the DA is part of cherry-picking on human rights. Our answer is simple, Honourable Smith and Honourable Hating. History offers no record of people being liberated by bombs falling from the sky, by chemical weapons poisoning their environment, or by war destroying their future. Not in Vietnam, not in Afghanistan, not in Iraq, and not in Libya, certainly not in Iran. Our response to the situation in Iran has been consistent. Let me remind you of what government has done, the GNU, which the DA is part of. We supported the rise to peaceful protest, freedom of expression, and freedom of association as universal rights that must be upheld for the people of Iran. We supported calls We supported calls for an independent inquiry into human rights violations by all sides, not only one side. And we have made it clear that sustainable peace can only come through solutions that center dialogue and respect the agency of the Iranian people. Your straw man management argument, where you denounce this GNU foreign policy as one-eyed and unconstitutional. You have also repeatedly claimed that this foreign policy will alienate South Africa from the democratic world. But you are wrong. Country after country has joined South Africa's case before the International Court of Justice on Israel's violation of the Genocide Convention. The Netherlands and Iceland are among the latest to do so. Your predictions and perhaps even your wishes of isolation have not come to pass. 19 members of the G20 supported our G20 declaration, except the US. And as for this charge of a one-eyed foreign policy, is it not better directed at those who took part in a sponsored trip to Israel in 2025? The DA, the ACDP, and others. And as for this, what did they do? You came back and said you saw no apartheid. After you have seen checkpoints, you have seen segregated roads, you have seen blockages, you saw humiliation of the Palestinian people, you saw their hunger. But you came back to South Africa and said you saw no genocide and you saw nothing. What will have Helen Suzman said about this? You accuse us of this one-eyed policy while your vision is the one that is blinkered. When you refuse to see what was perfectly obvious in front of your eyes. Therefore, who is a hypocrite? Is the hypocrite the one who stands in principle on the side of human rights, on the side of non-alignment, or is the one who have got a one-sided foreign policy? The verdict is clear. The DA is the hypocrite. Standing in this podium, peddling discredited and unproven conspiracies from think tanks in Washington is cheap political point scoring, Honorable Smith. Honorable Mulder, the ANC foreign policy is not anti-America, but is an anti-imperialist, a call to respect the sovereignty of state in line with Article 2 of the United Nations Charter. Geopolitics and geoeconomics have become intertwined, with trade and technology, finance, food security, energy security, and climate policy all being used as instruments of strategic competition. The blockade of the Strait of Hormuz clearly demonstrates this. War is deadly, honorable members. The human and the economic cost of war are exactly why our foreign policy calls for dispute to be settled through peaceful and inclusive dialogue. The principles that guide our approach to conflict have a long history, and Honorable Mauma Pile has already quoted eloquently the Freedom Charter in this regard. The Freedom Charter, when it was adopted, it was an extraordinary statement by our people, who were still shackled under apartheid. And a few weeks earlier, in 1955 in Bandung, Indonesia, the newly independent nations of Asia and Africa came together to affirm the principles of sovereign equality amongst nations, territorial integrity, friendship, and peaceful coexistence. Here, the non-alignment movement was born. To this date, we remain firm behind this principle, and we are consistent. Unlike yourselves, we have been very consistent on the sovereign integrity in Ukraine. We have been consistent on sovereign integrity in the Eastern DRC. We have been consistent on sovereign integrity in Sudan. This is a principled ANC. It is also carried on by the GNU government, which the DA is part of. We have continued to say During this period of a crisis, we called for all parties to cease hostilities and to remain within the bounds of international law. We have also been clear that the so-called preemptive or anticipatory self-defense has no basis in international law. We have also been unequivocal that retaliatories against the Gulf countries by Iran violates the UN Charter and risks widening the conflict. Thirdly, we continue to call on all parties to return to the negotiation table through UN-led multilateral processes. Honorable Smith, the woman who marched in 1956, will be very proud of the ANC to see the ANC condemning the killing of innocent women and the killing of innocent children anywhere in the world. The price that South Africans are paying for continued hostilities in the Middle East is too great. Today is almost certain that South Africans will be paying more for transport fare than they did last month. And soon this will lead to food prices increases and so forth, meaning the cost of living could once more go high. Just a month after the budget speech had indicated positive indicators for our economy, thereby undoing some of the good work to reset our economy. This is the price of war. It is an ordinary people who pay mostly for it. Eastern and Southern Africa depends on the Middle East, particularly the Strait of Hormuz, for 75% of their fuel imports and some of the transportation for foods. The impact of the war is already evident. Higher input costs for farmers, higher food prices, rising inflation and shortages of food and other essentials. We now have a responsibility as the government of national unity, which the DA is part of. During a crisis, you don't stand up and throw stones. When you are in government, you show yourself, you say to the people, we know of the forthcoming challenges that you are now going to face. As we have heard from Minister Tau, the government of national unity is taking immediate actions to respond to these issues, to strengthen policy framework needed to support the greater petroleum exploration and for a more domestic supply of fuel and energy. The Upstream Petroleum Resource Development Act was an important step in that direction, and further measures, including reforms in the petroleum product space, are also being advanced. It is also demands close coordination between the state and industry. DMRE is in constant engagement with the industry to plan, anticipate risks, and secure uninterrupted supply for domestic consumption. DTIC have also been tasked to come up with measures to cushion the economy against predatory pricing. This is what Honorable Tau has already mentioned. And this is what the government of national unity must rise. Mobilize the people of South Africa as we did during COVID-19, that this moment of crisis calls for all of us, all social actors, private and public sector, to work together to go through these difficulties. We have done it during COVID-19. We have done it during the July unrest. We have done it during the natural disasters in KZN and in the Eastern Cape. We can again do it now, today as South Africa. And this moment calls upon all of us to work together to defeat this, what is coming before us. We need to use our domestic capabilities, coal to fuel capability, gas to fuel capabilities, the biofuel capabilities that as a country we have. And this is what we are mobilizing on, that South Africa rise and build on your domestic capability so that we are self-sufficient during this difficult time. It is not a moment for point scoring. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. That concludes the debate. Honorable members, You may stand and wait for the presiding officer and the maids to leave the chamber. That concludes the business of the
We're not
day,
waiting
and
for
the
anyone
House is
here.
adjourned.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever.